With former champions appearing to have re-signed with AEW and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Talking about the Ascension's run in WWE, Road Dogg said this on his podcast about the difference between the duo's experience on NXT and the main roster. The booking was different. When they got up to the main roster, they weren't booked that way, and they weren't booked that way because Vince had in his mind that they were the Road Warriors, and that they had to look more like them or either be copies of them. Giving praise to Becky Lynch, Road Dogg revealed this about an interaction they had following his release from WWE. I always really liked Becky Lynch. I always really thought that her being was cool. She was beautiful. That accent, she can work, she carried herself cool. That was just something about Becky that said superstar to me early on, and so I utilized her in that way. When I got released, she was one of the only people, and of course, I got a lot of calls, but she was one of the only talent-wise that called me and said what happened. It blew my mind that she gave a crap enough about me to call and say, hey, I'm sorry. You go and the machine moves forward, and some people get left behind. And on that day, it was me. But yeah, I've seen something special in her since day one. Talking about bringing back the TNT Title Open Challenge after winning the belt back at Revolution, Wardlow said this during the post-show press conference. So it's going to start this Wednesday with Hobbs. Tonight, I dethroned the king of television, and I don't sit here to claim to be any type of a king. I sit before you stating I am simply just a man claiming to be the best. I look very forward to proving to this entire roster that I am. There's a lot of guys in the roster calling themselves that. With this title reign, my only goal is to prove them wrong, and it starts this Wednesday with Will Hobbs. I will go to extreme measures to ensure that I'll walk out still the champion, still the best. I would like to do the TNT Open Challenge because I want them all. I want our whole roster. I want people from other rosters. When I say I'm the best, I mean it. I'm looking to prove it. Wardlow also said this about how he felt prior to his title bout. I had a moment tonight, about 10 minutes before my match, where I did get a little emotional. It was the most emotional I have ever been going into a match. I think there was a time where I had a full mount on him, raining down fists. I think I almost came close to getting myself disqualified. It takes many years of anger to gain the peace and control that I have had to learn to, because I didn't always have control on it. Thank God I learned to control it. It doesn't matter how bad somebody pisses me off, how personal things get. I'm a monster, but I'm an intelligent one. I can control myself to make sure the ending is how I wanted it to be. At that same press conference, Ricky Starks talked about what is next for him following his victory over Chris Jericho. I think honestly for me at this point, contending for a championship. I know somebody's going to ask me, it could be the AEW Championship, TNT, the All-Atlantic, it can be all three. I've already proven I'm a main eventer. I've already proven I'm the guy. Why not go for some type of gold now? For me, personally, I'm open to those. Chris was a great cap in my feather, but it doesn't stop there. I honestly think, man, I'm ready to carry the whole goddamn thing. On the Masked Man show, Keith Lee touched on a WWE legend he wanted to face off against, as he said, "For as long as I can remember, my #1 dream match was against Kurt Angle. When I tell you I had an entire match in my head of things I wanted to happen, I wanted 20-30 minutes with him. My influence in this industry is a three-way cross, it's a triangle, maybe even isosceles, and it is a cross between early 2000s Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, and Low-Ki. Those are some of my biggest influences, and then right there on the precipice is Great Muta. Those are my biggest influences and people I love to study and or watch." Speaking to the Sportster, Sammy Guevarra was asked about appearing on house shows for AEW, with him noting, "On the house shows, you can keep me off those. I'm trying not to have to take bumps, okay? When I do take bumps, as you see, it's been in scenarios like a crazy ladder match, and then you can keep me off for a little bit. I don't want to bump often, but when I do, I want to make it crazy, so keep me off those." Touching on the reason for her absence from WWE, Candice Michelle told WrestlingNews.co, "I think that I've really taken such a step back in my personal life. You know, I've had 3 kids. I haven't been present on social media like a lot of the other former wrestlers. I really dived into my personal life and raising these children, and now just going into where my career is going next, and then hasn't really been live on social media so much. So I think maybe just missing that connection of them. Who are you now? What are you doing now? What do you look like now?" In essence, just me kind of getting back into that present world. I've gone through many transitions recently and had some health issues lately, and so it's actually good that it's not my time right now, but I'm coming out of that, so maybe next year at this time when it happens. For that same interview, Michelle recalled her title feud with Melina in WWE, saying, "She did not want this to happen. She did not want to drop that title to me. I came from Hollywood and I understood it. She came up from wrestling and wrestling schools and doing indie shows, and to her, she put the work in more so than me in her mind. But she didn't see the work that I put in leaving Wisconsin and going to Hollywood and the auditions I did every day. It's the same thing, just from a different standpoint, right? So her hating that so much was very difficult, yet it pushed me to be extra great. I mean, there were times when we're going into that match, I legit didn't know if that was going to be a shoot match or we're going to have a match. Like, I had no idea what we're going to do, and I didn't train in wrestling, so I was like, I don't know. We're going out there to fight. I just know I'm going out there. I have an opportunity to go out there, so we'll see what happens." We get out there and we put on one hell of a show. The next one would come, I'd be like, what are we going to do? It was like, she wouldn't even talk to me, and I was like so frustrated. I'm like, I want to give it my all and be my best, and I can't work with this girl. What I just learned is that hate in that moment made me respect her because it pushed me. So after the fact, years later, I just shook her hand and we're friends now. And I just said, you know what? Thank you for that, because I'm not so sure I would have become the champion if you were nice to me back then. Talking about the new nickname for the WWE United States Champion, Victor Lucius and Hale Collins, who go by The Now as a tag team, said Austin Theory all of a sudden started calling himself The Now, along with Corey Graves saying it multiple times on commentary. I think the first time we heard it, it was a pay-per-view and we immediately texted you. We were like, what is happening? Clearly, we had a trademark since 2007. It's an idea. We've told the story many times, how we came up with it originally, how we got together as a team. The whole story, how we have been The Now, and we have been a team as The Now for 15 years, still actively doing it in NWA television as we speak right now. No more disrespectful in any way than to take someone else's intellectual property and pass it off as your own. There is nothing lower in this profession than doing that. It is a complete lack of creativity, originality, effort. With details on the recent comeback of FTR, it was reported that FTR returned to AEW tonight to set up a new program with AEW Tag Team Champions, The Guns. As PWInsider.com has reported in the Elite section, the belief was that FTR are locked into long-term deals with AEW, and their disappearance and tease of going elsewhere was just a storyline cover. Touching on an incident from the most recent event for AEW, it was revealed that a fan was ejected from the building. If you were watching the AEW Revolution pay-per-view, you may have noticed fans chanting, "You effed up," and being distracted by something happening in the crowd. PWInsider.com is told that a fan about halfway up the building tossed, for reasons unknown, a water bottle that hit the arena floor and was subsequently found and ejected by security. When speaking to TMZ Sports, former WWE star and current champion for New Japan, Mercedes Mone, said this about what is next for her pro wrestling career. "I want to see who's ready for Mercedes Mone. I'm always here for the check. I'm always here for the bag, and whoever has the biggest bag is where I'm gonna go." She would also say this about her NJPW debut. "It was a moment I'm always going to remember. It's probably my second favorite moment of my career thus far, and that's saying a lot because I've done so much in professional wrestling." Asked about the possibility of Mercedes Mone making her way to AEW, president of the company, Tony Khan, said this during the media scrum following their Revolution event. "I have a ton of respect for the IWGP Women's World Champion. She is a tremendous wrestler. I wouldn't want to comment on any discussions I've had with any wrestler who is a free agent, in particular, a wrestler who is a champion for one of our partners. But I have a ton of respect for that great wrestler. That's someone that any pro wrestling company would be very fortunate to have her wrestling for them." Also at that media scrum, Tony Khan was asked about possibly losing former AEW World Champion Kenny Omega to WWE, as he said, "No, I think Kenny Omega is one of the best wrestlers in AEW history. He's one of the most decorated wrestlers. To have somebody who's been World Trios Champion and had a great match defending that title tonight, World Tag Team Champion and the World Champion. He's done everything you could do as a World Champion in this company and also the IWGP US Champion, and this year alone, he's had some of the best matches in the world. I thought it was an excellent match on the pay-per-view tonight. He started the year with a great match versus Will Ospreay at NJPW Wrestle Kingdom. Kenny Omega can do anything he sets his mind to. He's one of the best stars in the world, and I hope he's here for a very long time." And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.